Let's see if today we manage to finish. But yeah, if we don't finish, that's fine. Also, we just keep on uh, going as long as it's necessary. So today we will continue studying the spiritual colonies. We already talked about it 3 weeks, and this is, I mean, 2 weeks. This is the third week, and today we're talking, among other things, to start with this colonies and spiritual nuclei devoted to goodness in understanding their organization. Um, it's very beautiful. I don't think it's only just interesting. We could say, oh, it's so interesting that people gather together, but it's just more than gather together. You see, it's gathering together because we have something in common. So it's not that we will be having, those awkward conversations or trivial conversations. No, we'll have common interests, and mostly, of course, it is how can we contribute for the general better. And when I say general better, we are including ourselves, of course. So this is very important in terms of hierarchy. Everyone is going to feel the same. We understand the history, the difficulty that we all have to achieve things in terms of inner victories, inner conquest. But I mean, if there is someone that we would consider above us, it's not because of, uh, let's say, physical things like here, but it's actually because of the moral acquisitions. And having said all that, we should not think about, that famous 1984 Orson Welles novel, like everyone is like the same, like robots, or, no, we will always have our particular color, inclination, and indifference, even when we start leveling ourselves the same way in terms of moral and knowledge. Because I may have a lot of knowledge and knowledge about a lot of things, but then let's say I have more an inclination for music or for painting or for numbers or for medical things or for technology, engineering. So there will always be this particular characteristic that will actually identify ourselves. So it's not that we are going to be like equal robots. Any comments, questions so far? So let's go for next. Oh, again, we don't have the ideas here. I of course I put a very futuristic drawing, right, of people flying and buildings floating. We don't know, right? I mean, from the reports that we have, especially in the books by Andre Lewis, a psychography of Chico Xavier, Life in the Spirit World. It's a series of 15 books. Yeah, we see that some citizens, so to say, they have the ability of moving about by floating in space. And I can't wait to do that on a regular basis, I think it's so amazing. But here we are just using that as an illustration to talk about the inhabitants that, of course, their main goal is to be good. So if you want to be good, and again, remember, I always like to stress that, because here we have to put behind once and for all that idea of bargaining with God. If I'm good, God is going to be good with me. If I do that to someone, someone is going to give me back, to reward me back. So this is not why we strive to be good. We strive to be good because it makes us feel good. I don't need the intervention of others or the reward paying forward by others. Because when we realize how much goodness and good emotions actually give us and even reverberate in our physical body, not only in our state of mind, in our spiritual, in our emotions, but even when we talk about the physical body, physicality, we will understand how important it is for us actually to practice good. I think we mentioned that last week as well, that we can move about lower spheres for higher spheres, not necessarily, that we will be having more like of a mental communication and this kind of locomotion that we say. And this is where we stop it. This is a photograph that was published in May 7, 2005 of a mirage that appeared on the shore of Penglai City in eastern China, Shandong, and they call this the city of gods. I mean, this that we are seeing, kind of blurry on the line of the horizon, that looks like, edifications, constructions, buildings, this does not exist in the physical plane. This is really what they call the mirage. And of course, for us, the spiritualists, they call our attention because it's like, for a moment, they have a glimpse of, this spiritual realm that was there. That is, it exists in different dimensions. And we have this picture as well. They say that thousands of people witnessed this mirage that lasted for 4 hours. Mist rising on the shore created the image of a city with modern high-rise buildings and broad city streets, as well as crowds of people, all clearly visible. Experts said that the many mirages have been recorded in Penglai throughout history, which made it known as a dwelling place of the gods. So even people they saw there. You see, so it's like, that veil that perhaps separated, the physical realm from the spiritual one, for a moment was kind of lifted so people could actually see this spiritual city. Since we are talking about spiritual colonies, spiritual cities, this definitely must be a spiritual city that is in that region. And like we have all over the world. Okay, this is not a privilege of a single region or geographic region. No, it's all over the world. And they are much more common than we think. Perhaps not in certain areas or in certain levels. Let's say if we are thinking about layers, perhaps in the first layer, very close to Earth, we will have more like, ER types of, that we call outposts, to be the first places to receive those that have departed before they are taken to a bigger, more organized spiritual city. Any comments, questions?
Isaba,
Yes.
what what happened to the existence of evil? You mean there's no evil, no badness?
Orlando, like when Carmelie mentioned, of course there is. Here we are talking about spiritual colonies dedicated to good. There are places where spirits gather that they are dedicated to evil because they have not had, the necessary understanding to and will to move away from their bad inclinations. So we will find, the different hues of spiritual inclination. We will find places there are really, if we could go there, we would say, oh my God, this is really heaven, paradise, right? And other places that we will say, this is really heaven. This is actually one of the theories that we have in terms of people, how this whole idea of heaven and hell appeared, even with the appearances of the inhabitants, because we know that the more our inner nature is low, the more rude our features are going to be. And since we talked about the perispirit and how malleable it can be, and how much even we can somehow assume momentarily animal forms, this is what we think that gave rise to that idea of, the demon and how the demons are, and in the same way the angels, because when you see a spirit highly evolved, you will see it surrounded by an aura of light, and perhaps when people had that kind of vision, they imagine that they have wings, right? It's ethereal. So this is how it happens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
This picture reminds me of the first time I went to Rio and saw Corcovado.
Uh-huh.
And the image in Rio is much more pleasant, more substantial.
Uh-huh.
If this is a picture of heaven, it looks like a less substantial place than the physical place we are familiar with.
Yeah. Well, because it's such a blur in a way, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for us to see if when we arrive, this kind of pinkish, all of a sudden are the most beautiful, pink marble one can see. And I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about the previous one.
Yeah, this one.
It's much lower and much less substantial.
Yeah.
In image.
But we don't even know what part of the city they are showing to us, right? If it's the outskirts of the city, we don't know. But what I think it's really important, what I gather from here is, it's if we're just going to think about the material aspect of it, we will say, wow, that's really intriguing. Right? How come, for 4 hours you see even people walking there and all of a sudden everything disappears? If we think from the spiritual perspective, we will say, well, this is actually something that exists, and how beautiful or not there will be there, I don't know. But yeah, I do hope that they I mean, according to what Andrea Luiz describes, not about the buildings, but more the surroundings, right? The nature, vegetation, and water, and lightning. It's so much more beautiful. One other spiritual colony that we talk about sometimes is that Hospital of Hope, that this spirit, Euripides Barçanufo, also is one of that are in charge of it. This man, Euripides Barçanufo, he died from the influenza in the 1900s, beginning of 1900s, very early. I think he was 36 years old, but he was a spiritist, and he became a spiritist by reading that book by Leon Denis, After Death. He was so impressed by that book, and he says that that was the book that made him a spiritist. And he had the ability of by location, like we say, he would leave his body in one place and materializes in a different place, and people would see him, would talk to him. In one occasion, he even helped a woman that was giving birth to give birth. And I mean, extraordinary things. And he continues this work in the spirit realm. Another one that we have that is talked by this English Reverend J. Vale Owen, that we know of, that is mentioned in some books. Again, there may be millions and millions. We don't know how many. Okay, if you ask how many spiritual colonies there are, we don't know. But we know that no one, in terms, just thinking about planet Earth, will not be provided with a place in a spirit colony, even if we are talking about the low level ones, okay? So in this book, The Life Beyond the Veil, he talks about this city of Castrel that is primarily designed to assist children. Yes? Okay. So here it says, it receives discarded children and prepares them for the new reality of life, reintegrating them to the spheres to which they are destined to after they are back to their adult form, or prepares the spirit for reincarnation, accompanying them during the infancy. Very briefly, just because it's talking about children here, when children die, up to a certain age, so if we are talking really about children, there is not so much advantage in them remaining in a children's form in the spirit realm. So as soon as they die, they are going to be received in special colonies for children until they start adapting, and then they regain an adult form. Okay, unless they have programmed a reincarnation very soon. So they die today, 2 years from now, they are going to come back. And so there is no need for this kind of transition. It's the time of keeping on preparation the next incarnation. But most of the time, because we also have to be active and learning and exercise and being the full exercise of our capabilities, let's say a spiritual body of a child is not exactly, is going to get in the way. The colony is situated between mountains, has a golden dome on the center, surrounded by a terrace with columns. Long street crosses the city from one stream to the other. making a boulevard where even the residence of the governor is located, open areas, spacious buildings dedicated to children's assistance, horticulture, all the other things, illuminated, harmonious, beautiful, with water fountains, all of that. So he goes on describing everything, that is related to this city of Castrel. Okay.
You, Sarah,
Yes.
from what I hear from you, it seems like it's a happy land. I mean, isn't there, especially the children, isn't there the aspect of psychology? That aspect? It seems like it's just there's no sadness, and there's no suffering.
And they will be provided with everything for them to feel, to adapt to this life and to reach balance as much as possible. We cannot imagine, of course, that when we are talking about children, especially children that had more time with their parents, etc., that they are not going to miss their parents, right? But we have in some of the Andrea Lewis books as well, even for their perspective, even visits from parents, during their sleep stage, they will receive the visit of their parents. And so to them, it's not going to be as hard as for the parents that will sometimes not remember that they went there, visit their children during the night. So they will have all the support and to regain the possibility of continuing acting as a full adult spirit, right? Because of course, at this point there are. In the book Heaven and Hell, actually is one of the books by Andrea Lewis that talks about a place like this for children, that it's a mix with a school for mothers also. So it's like, one place that you can go to learn how to become a mother in a future reincarnation, right? Preparing mothers for responsible maternity. Also, they help with the discarnate children or the children that are about to reincarnate. And they will find all this support that we were talking about. And we'll have always this, receiving all this support, like we said, and even the visit and feel the love of their parents. And again, we have to remember that once they remember, they start, understanding about their condition in the physical life, they will remember other parents as well. So some of their parents from previous incarnation may even be there, right? So there are all those possibilities.
Are there any religions there?
We talked that about last week. Remember, Orlando, when we said,
I don't think I was here.
No, you asked that, but that's fine. We can say it again. All the beliefs are going to be respected, and like we were saying before, people will join by affinity, and sometimes they, in the level of involvement that we still attach it to a different religiosity or spirituality denominations, I may still feel more pleased to be among, I don't know, Jews or Christians or Protestants or Muslim or Hindu, whatever, you see. So there is not going to be a factor. There is not going to be a factor, especially when we are talking about those spiritual colonies of goodness, like we're talking about.
Excellent. And I will keep my mouth shut.
No worries. So in this book, Action and Reaction, it talks about also this mention of peace, a place where we will go to try to, to work on ourselves for our spiritual readjustments, is more is situated on the lower zones. Is still a zone plagued by hostile nature, tick shadow, but like I said, those are places to help us, in the transition, and I'm sure. I hope not to go there again after this life, but I'm sure that I I was in some of them a few times after passing in reincarnations, because it is where we learn to revisit our things. So a place destined to receive unhappy or sick spirits, but who are willing to work on their own regeneration. Creatures who elevate themselves to colonies of self-improvement on the superior life, or who return to the sphere of humanity for the ratifying reincarnation. So it can be a place of transition, okay, where we will be really preparing. But of course, because it's an organized spiritual colony already, even if it's in a region that is more in tune with what we are and how we in a spiritual energy level vibrate, it doesn't mean that is an unpleasant place. No, we will find people there like we're here. Okay, we all know who we are, what we did, and how much we have to improve.
Yes.
So we are all in the same boat, but we are willing to take steps to do that, even when the taking steps means only start the first steps, learning, reflecting, to make our will stronger, and moving on a path of readjustment, of getting better. Helping outposts are the great expressions of love of the neighbor. So the helping outposts are small groups of spirits, usually connected to a colony situated in more elevated planes, for where they receive instructions, guidance, and care, receiving workers who volunteer in tasks of devotion, sacrifice, and love of the neighbor. They are a kind of advanced campus of a spiritual colony. They are like the waiting room hospitals for the sick souls, where the punitive experience is applied to bring the sufferer back to health and happiness. The missionary spirits struggle with the inhabitants of the dark regions, mainly with their leaders, true princes of evil. So those outposts, they are very close to Earth's crust. So it's a region that is it's more adverse to goodwill, to goodness, but it's still very much like when we think about, a region of war where we have those barracks for, assisting the ill, the sick, the wounded on the wars, right? So they will provide us with the necessary and possible assistance we can have in this between planes. Outposts are very much connected to spiritist centers. So many of the spiritual centers will have outposts connected to them that in its turn is connected to a spiritual city, a spiritual colony. And so they will use those places where we dedicate and we send this energy, vibration, and even our physical possibilities in terms of ectoplasm to help spirits that are very much in transition. Comments, questions? Okay. There's another one that the book Messengers talks about the field of peace that also receives spirits that are more imbalanced than evil. Again, all those places, even if they are not in the best region yet, they will be like an oasis to us, okay? They will be wonderful, a fantastic experience. We want to go there, even if it's just an outpost. It means we are not going to be left someplace there where we can be abused by inferior entities or something like that. The people there are received and treated and readjusted and will receive all possible care for the transition, for whatever they have planned in terms of their continual growth. This is in the book, The Messengers. There is another one, the transitory house of Fabiano. Fabiano the Cristo of Christ belongs to the clergy, and he helped a lot during his lifetime. And in this book, Workers of Eternal Life, they talk about this transitory house. There is another name that we can give to outposts that even dislocate from one place to the other according to where they are needed. So it's an institution close to the earth's crust, acting on behalf of the most tormented, newly discarnate souls, and founded by this Fabiano of Christ, a devoted servant of charity who lived in Rio de Janeiro. Their work is one of the most dignifying and elevating in character. To those places converge numerous expeditions of brothers and sisters loyal to goodness, who visit spheres where ignorant and tormented beings struggle with pain in a prolonged transit in the darkest regions. At this point, you may ask yourself, oh my God, there are only outposts, spiritual cities, transitory house in Brazil. No, I mean, like I said, it's all over the world. We have this reports because in Brazil, there are more people that already follow spiritual ideas, spiritism, and all this literature that we had. But each time more, we will be finding out about the rest of the world, names, etc. But we showed, for instance, Emmanuel Swedenborg, Andrew Jackson Davis, and even Reverend Owen from other regions as well, okay? This one that is described in the book, Memoirs of a Suicide. There was a time that when I had to give this talk, we could say that none of the books we mention here were available in English. Now, all of them so far are available in English, which is such a blessing. We are talking 17 years ago. It's not that far away. So, and this book, Memoirs of a Suicide, which is a very difficult book to read, especially if you were a suicide in one of your previous lives, but it describes this colony of Legion of the Servants of Mary, because as we know, Mary, the mother of Jesus, she's very much committed to the assistance and recovery of those who suffer a lot, and among those are the suicides that will need the special assistance, special understanding. Their transition is very difficult. In so many aspects. But again, it doesn't mean that because it is difficult that they will be left to themselves and that they will not be receiving God's love and blessings and mercy. So it's like a fortress, they say, surrounded by fortified walls, in a very sad and desolate area, with snowstorms, because all of that, all this psychosphere is related to what we emanate. So when we go to places like we'll say paradise, it's because people there emanate that. Like, you can go to a household where you say, oh my God, your house is so peaceful, it is and that. And it's because there reigns harmony, respect, and love among the family. And sometimes you go to a household, it can be even a palace, and you will say, oh my God, this is horrible, because you feel in the air the conniving emotions, the hatred, disputes, all of that. Okay, so all of this is the reflection of our own externalizing of emotions. Okay, so it will remind us, like it says here, the medieval castles, but they have to take protection in order to not be attacked by even lower level spirits that do not want those good souls to provide for the ones that are suffering. So it's like a fortress. Okay. And the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, Thomas Edison talks about a spiritual colony above California that is called Summerland. And if we do remember, Thomas Edison wanted to invent a telephone or a way of communicating with with spirits. He was working on a machine to do that for some years, So he's a spirit that is also committed to this spirituality and for this spiritual evolvement of our country here in the USA. And another little book that is in English. Kaivar Shutil is a spirit as well that talks about, in a book talking about mediumship, talks about a spiritual city that is called New Dawn. Is very big, and it says that it comprises 4 cities on the seashore of the state of São Paulo, Brazil. So it's a very big city as well. Devoted to the study of spiritism, having to that end centers of study and culture. The study of mediumship is of relevance, for it assists on the preparation of mediums for future tasks on Earth, on the assistance to the incarnate, on the formation of workers who will serve on the field. I think I had an internship in this colony. I don't know if I live it there, but at least to go there to have, a crash course on, spiritism, devoting to, to spiritism, spiritist centers and mediumship. So as we see, we will have we have specialties as well. We talk about specialty in terms of children, in terms of formation of future mothers, in terms of, people that will be dedicated to a particular area of spirituality or another. So there is all this diversity in terms of what we can have, what we can gather. Okay. Working outposts, the worker of the spiritual world count on the help of other helping posts to assist both the discarnate and the incarnates. And the spiritist centers, like we said before, they can be linked directly to those posts of spiritual help or a colony. So like we said before, a well organize it with high purpose spiritist spiritual places will serve as outposts and will be connected to others on the spiritual realm. Like for instance, in this colony, New Dawn has more or less more than 1,000 units spread around the globe on the Earth's crust. So they have this big one located there that they said, but they have more than 1,000 spread throughout the world to help in this sense, with the same purpose of helping the spirits, and as well as helping in the formation and the support. Because, we go there, we have, let's say, the studies, the course, and then we come here and they do not abandon us. And especially when we come, to sow the field that is quite hard sometimes, they will be providing us with support, like, keep on going, you can do it, come back during the night to refresh, to improve your will to keep on going, all those things. Any question or comments so far? And here is where they show even an example in this house, of a spiritist center, where the groups will be coming and they say, let us bear in mind the importance of the spiritist center to the education of the souls. Here, remembering that spiritism started the valuable work of asserting the continuation of life after death and natural phenomenon towards ascension. Again, this does not belong to Spiritism, okay? Spiritism is one of the spiritualist philosophies that will lead us to there, okay? We don't have the pretensions of saying, oh, we are the only one, only we know about those things. No, and we don't want to be that. We want more people to know that. We want more that other philosophies and religions will come to the same conclusion, because then it's only going to strengthen each other and prepare us for what it is to come. So death does not end the friendly cooperation, the mutual support, the comforting assistance, the evolving service. Okay, this is what we have to understand. Life goes on, and not only goes on like, in an idle harp wing shape, but with participation, with helping one another, which is much more reasonable to think about, right? Many people would say, well, I prefer to you know, the eternal sleep, than to the eternal boredom, right? Of just saying there, like, I'm retired. There's nothing I can do, nothing I can contribute. No, right? I mean, there is not that. Is action all the time. The universe vibratory dimensions are infinite, just as infinite are the worlds that fill the immensity. Evolvement continues on everywhere. Life renews itself, purifying and elevating individuals and leading them beautifully, victoriously to the supreme union with divinity. I think we can finish here. I think basically this is, we'll stop sharing. Okay. And okay.
Sarah,
Yes.
I think this was so beautiful, how you explained this. And, we study spiritism and we're here down on earth, and that one day we're going to go to the other side. Well, surely we understand that. But to see all this that is waiting for us, for the help, we're never left alone. So it doesn't make it so difficult to understand that when it's time to go, there's going to be help for us. And all these colonies, these outposts that you explained, my God, I mean, I don't want to say, well, I want to leave. I want to go right away because I'm going to get help there. But it's so good to understand that we've been studying spiritualism for such a long time, but then you come back and you go over this and explain all these outposts that are out there. Thank you. It's such a major difference from those who don't understand what's coming and who we are and what we study. Is so important for everyone to at least get a glimpse of this beautiful understanding of life here and life after we depart. Thank you for this beautiful lesson. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes all the difference, right? I mean, it's so sad to be, I mean, how hard it is for people that has no knowledge and understanding to go through the loss of a loved one. I mean, even when we have all that, it's already very hard. I mean, because we will miss the physical presence and, the relationship we had and all of that. But to believe that this is it and that was the forever goodbye, it's an excruciating pain, right? I think it's really, really horrible and very painful for people to have to go through that. So I myself, I feel blessed that I have this understanding. Again, we are not saying that we are not going to cry, to miss, to feel sorry for the departure. I mean, for that, it would imply us having no emotion or no love towards the person for that to happen. So we will feel all of that. But we will also, on the other hand, will have the consolation of knowing, I don't know, it may take 10, 20, 30 years, but we will meet again. We will be together again. And God, who knows, we will be back in a new incarnation again. So the adventure continues. The love will only grow. And so this, at least I think, appeases our hearts so much. And at the same time, knowing that for the majority of them, from what we can gather from this study of the spiritual colonies, you only will not be eligible to being one of them if you really don't want it. Okay. So it's up to us. I mean, the minimum effort that we do will already take us at least to an outpost in the Earth's crust, which is better than being homeless in space, right? So, and having to watch your six all the time, right? Yeah, so yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, Marlene?
I wish we could go right on with this lesson. It's beautiful. I love it. It's very meaningful to me. You can well imagine.
Well, Marlene,
I'm in no hurry to start the new book, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
actually, we finished it. That was just one
Oh.
slide. So we actually finished this one. I can take a look to see if there is any other thing that perhaps we could do before starting the book, and we can talk about it. There is one book in particular that I like, one passage from the book, Law of Cause and Effect, that is coming to my mind now, that I think it could be something nice for us to study. If you want, I can bring that next week instead of starting the book. Because also it talks about this relationship between the two worlds, free will, cause and effect, and I think it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to do that for next week, okay?
Thank you.
Sarah, which is the book we're starting?
Sorry?
Which is the book we're going to start?
We were thinking about starting the family constellation by
Oh, yes,
Joanna
yes,
Yachalis.
yes, yes. Okay.
Because I mean, I think it's a very important book
Yes,
as well,
it is.
but we can even do something else if you feel like it. But there is no problem in for the time being. We bring. I'll see if I can make a selection among some of the talks that I already have that could be interesting for us to study. Even from the books of Andrea Lewis, I have the Sex and Destiny. I think I have the Messengers. I have this one. Even to maybe perhaps to go again through Nosolar could be interesting as well. So I mean, in 1-2 weeks, give a refresh, because again, we will not be talking about the story per se, but the knowledge we gather from there. So even if you say, oh my God, I read the book 3 times already, watched the movie, I don't know how many times, I know the story, from back to the end, from front to the end, and no, because we will focus in particular aspects that many times it skips us when we are just reading. Okay, so I'll think for next week which one we will bring, but we can go with that. Okay.
Okay.
Lovely.
Sounds
I also wanted to ask you about Sunday's program, the initiation to Spiritism.
Yeah.
Okay, now do I just use the regular link, or is there another link I'm supposed to use?
Oh yes, it's good that you talk about that. So finally this week we are going to start. It's a 40-week course actually, about initiation into spiritism, from the new book that we have published, translated right from the author Terezinha Oliveira that is in the spiritual world already, and it's like a condensed, very well put together uh, knowledge about the main aspects of spiritism that is contained in the work of the codification. And what is going to be interesting is that we are having collaboration from speakers from the whole USA. So each week is going to be a different person giving the lesson, and every 4 weeks we will have an open session with the speakers of the previous 4 or 5 weeks together for Q&A. And but it's going to be in the YouTube channel, and I think it's in our email. There is a link that you go to the YouTube channel of the Spiritist, the United States Spiritist Federation. So it's not in a Zoom meeting. You will watch in your computer or phone, but not in a Zoom form. That will not be